You're scrolling through endless options because you want a sound system that actually makes movie night feel like a night at the cinema, not just a gadget that boasts a long feature list. You're probably nervous about dropping a few $100s on something that sounds amazing in the specs sheet but ends up being a headache when you try to watch a sitcom or listen to your favorite playlist. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The biggest fear is buying a soundbar that either drowns out dialogue, leaves you with weak bass, or simply feels out of place in your living room size. I spent a good amount of time digging into how a 13-speaker, 5.1.4 soundbar actually behaves in a typical family room. The SENNHEISER AMBEO Soundbar Max promises a full immersive Dolby Atmos and DTS experience without the need for separate satellite speakers. That sounds perfect on paper, but the real test is whether the built-in speakers can truly recreate a three-dimensional soundstage in a space where you can't mount ceiling speakers or hide large side fills. First, let's talk about dialogue clarity. One of the biggest complaints with many high-end soundbars is that the dialogue gets lost in the ambience. The AMBEO Max uses 5 dedicated tweeters and a specially tuned mid-range driver, which Sennheiser says reproduces mid-range voices accurately. In practice, when I streamed a dialogue-heavy drama, the speech stayed crisp even during loud action sequences. The built-in equalizer with 3 preset modes helped fine-tune the balance, and I found the cinema preset gave the most natural vocal presence without boosting background effects too much. If you're the type who constantly raises the TV volume to hear what the characters are saying, this model seems to address that pain point. Bass performance is another area where many soundbars fall short, especially when they claim deep 30 Hz bass without an external subwoofer. The AMBEO Max has a built-in subwoofer driver that can reach down to 30 Hz, which is impressive for a single-unit bar. In a modest-sized living room, about 1,218 feet, the low end felt tight and impactful on explosions and musical bass lines, but it never turned the room into a rumbling chamber. The bar also offers a mono subwoofer pre-out, so if you have a dedicated sub you love, you can hook it up for even more thump. That flexibility is useful if you already own a sub or if you want to future-proof your setup. Surround effect is where the 5.1.4 label really matters. The 4 upward-firing speakers create height channels that bounce sound off the ceiling, giving you that overhead rain or helicopter whir that makes Atmos feel real. In a test with a recent blockbuster, I could pinpoint the direction of moving objects like a plane swooping overhead without feeling like the sound was being artificially placed. However, the effect does depend on room acoustics. In a very high ceiling room, the height cues were a bit less pronounced, while in a lower ceiling space they were spot on. So if your room has standard 8-foot ceilings, you'll get a solid sense of vertical dimension, but you won't achieve the full theater-grade immersion you'd get with ceiling-mounted speakers. Room size fit is often overlooked. The AMBEO Max measures a little over 3 feet wide, which makes it a good match for most 55 to 65-inch TVs. The sound output is calibrated to adapt to your living room's dimensions, but there's no automatic room calibration microphone included. You'll need to use the built-in equalizer or rely on the preset modes to tweak the sound for larger spaces. In a larger open-plan area, the bar still filled the room, but you might notice a slight dip in surround precision at the far corners. If you have a compact or medium-sized living room, you'll likely feel the bar is just right. For very large spaces, you might still consider adding rear speakers. Connectivity is where the AMBEO Max shines for modern households. It supports wired HDMI ARC/eARC, which means you can get the full bitrate of Dolby Atmos directly from your TV without extra cables. The built-in Wi-Fi lets you stream from Spotify, Apple Music, or any DLNA-compatible device, and it also supports Bluetooth for quick phone connections. I found the wireless streaming to be reliably low latency, which is essential if you plan to use the bar for gaming. The remote, while a bit busy at first glance, separates the most used functions: volume, source selection, and preset mode onto dedicated buttons, reducing the friction of hunting through menus. Now, let's be realistic about the downsides. The bar doesn't come with a dedicated subwoofer, so while the built-in bass is respectable, it won't match the visceral impact of a separate, large cone sub that you might see in a dedicated home theater package. The lack of an automatic room calibration system means you'll need to spend a few minutes tweaking the EQ yourself,